Hey guys, Curt Graham here again with another edition of Inside EIP. Today we've got with us Michael Hassett. He is a sales supervisor here at EIP. We're going to go over a little bit of the details about what his role is, what it covers, kind of his day-to-day responsibilities, the way he motivates the team, and how he continues to just help strive and grow in the company every day. So why don't we jump right in? So you didn't start off in the insurance business. Did you have any experience in the insurance business before you came to EIP?
No, to be quite honest with you, I really didn't know anything about insurance, even about my own group coverage that I was on. The terminologies, the deductibles, the stuff, the insurance terminologies it was like a foreign language to me. So it was kind of hard to grasp onto that. But I mean, like I said, even before sales, it was, waiting tables, stuff like that. Just kind of building that rapport. If you could be coachable, you can work at, retail, anything like that. As long as you're coachable, you don't have to know insurance to be thriving in the insurance field. Actually, majority of the agents that we have didn't come from sales. They don't carry, because what happens a lot of the times, even if you do come from sales, some of them come with, old habits that it's kind of hard to break. It's just learning those type of steps and being able to just be coached, or just, I want to say, just moldable on that. Best way to pick up and run with it.
Funny thing is that there's a theme that I've noticed as I've talked to different people in the company. And I think the big, the favorite word is coachability, being coachable. And I think that's absolutely true. But I think one of the things I wanted to touch on with you, and kind of with your background of not being in the insurance business, is the opportunities that people have of kind of looking outside of the insurance business and finding those other people. And so, like you were saying, it's coachability, but also likability, having the ability to talk, not getting marbles in your mouth when you're on the phone, and just having the willingness to kind of go back and do that. Did you learn that in those other jobs? Is that a big, kind of foundational thing for you?
I'm from Long Island, New York, so I've kind of always had to have that tough skin a little bit. Everybody's just busting your chops, learn how to just bounce things off of each other. It's not for the weak. Sales is not for the weak. You have to build that tough skin, because it's just a matter of when you do get humbled. So it's kind of learning from those humbling experiences to see what you could have done better. I tell the team all the time, you kind of have to have short-term memory loss in between every single call, because you can have a great call, or you can have a bad call, but as soon as that call is over, you have to pop right back into it and give 110% on that call. Kind of just, you have to have that personality. You want to set yourself different. Nowadays with AI, you don't want to seem like you're coming off as just an AI person on the other end. You want that person, especially the audience that we deal with, to know that, hey, you're a real person. And we do a great job with screen sharing, showing the clients our faces. And a lot of times, you can hear us smiling through the other end of the phone. So it's just doing those type of cues when you're on the phone, because we're not doing face-to-face. You have to have, us as salespeople over the phone, you have to have trained ears. You have to hear whether a client is, wanting to buying signals. You have to hear whether a client is confused or lost. We don't have body languages to pick up on that. So you have to kind of listen to the voice inflections and stuff along those lines to kind of just pick up those cues.
Now, as a sales supervisor, one of the parts of your job is listening in on other agents and coaching them in real time sometimes, but also sending follow-up, reports on the different calls that they've had throughout the day. And I think one of the things that I've seen on those reports are active listening and being able to, listen to the client as opposed to talk past the client. But also, tonality is a big one. And I think you touched on that a little bit earlier with, when you get done with the call, it's got to be fresh. You always have to remember that you might have had a bad call beforehand. don't make the next call for the client a bad call. They had nothing to do with that one. Is that a part of the, the resetting that you're talking about?
Absolutely. I mean, you can have a client just really get underneath your skin and just kind of, you kind of just have to brush it off as soon as you shut it off. I mean, I used to have a mirror right next to my computer. So if I see that my face is angry, if I see that, I just look frustrated, the client doesn't see anything. So the only thing they're going to hear is your voice. And if you're having upset, or if you just have a stale face, or, your facial expressions are just, out of order, or you just look angry, it's going to reflect in your voice and your voice inflection as well. I mean, you want them to want to talk to you. Absolutely. And with the coaching, those are things that all the supervisors listen to. We want to hear right off the bat within the first 30 seconds, whether I want to talk to you or not, whether you're rushing through it or if you're trying to really have the client listen to every word that you're saying. Those are some key things that we listen to. I mean, just the intro is going to dictate a lot on how the call is going to turn or how the call is going to dictate. So those are some things that we definitely look into, especially right in the beginning.
It's so true. That first 30 seconds, that impression. I know we're scripted call center. We focus on, staying on script, staying compliant and making sure that, we're following all of those things. But tonality is huge. And you mentioned the mirror by the desk. Do other agents do that? Do you suggest it for some agents as, hey, throw a mirror up so you know what you look like?
Some more than others, especially the ones that like to look at themselves. It ends up being more of a distraction than anything. No, it's just certain cues to just help, because some people just have that resting face to where, like for me, if I'm not in front of a camera, if I'm not in front of an audience, I have a very just serious face for the most part. So I just have to remind, it's a little says it all the time. It's just, you got to hop into scene, right? It's like a acting gig, right? As soon as the lights are on, the camera's on, you have to put paint on the face, whether you want to or not. You have to leave everything at the door, because at the end of the day, this is how we make our living.
But also, I mean, when you think about it as an agent and as somebody that's, leading a team of agents, would you rather have a good time while you're talking to the clients or be in a bad mood?
Oh, absolutely.
Frankly, if you're having a good time, it's going to reflect in your clients. It's the old trick of, if you've ever done sales face to face, is, cross your hands, lean forward, do all of these different things and kind of get the clients to do that. And you have to do it in different ways on the phone. But you mentioned that we do some screen sharing. I think that also kind of causes people and agents to, change their tone, because now they're on camera, they are live, and now they are having that interpersonal relationship. Is that a big part of what we do, is pushing the screen sharing, because we just see that it does turn out to be a better result ultimately?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned before, like the audience that we deal with, they're an older generation, right? A lot of them, we get the local agent. I like to have everything in front of me. I like to, be able to see, which again, as a consumer, I understand that wholeheartedly. So by us offering the screen shares, it gives us an easy, hey, now you can see that what we're doing. We're transparent with the client. They see that we're not in just some boiler room, just trying to crunch all these numbers down. It's them showing them. We even take it even a step further. It's not only showing them who we are, but we also show them the application that we're looking at. They're able to see almost hands-on the whole process from start to finish. The clients enjoy it. And like you mentioned before, having a good time. I mean, you can tell who's had a great sales day and you can tell who's had a bad sales day. For the ones that aren't, they kind of wear their emotions on their sleeve. That's where we kind of come in and just have to check them a little bit. You start seeing after, by 3-4 o'clock, they're still at, a bunch of dials, 300 dials with zero contacts or anything like that. Their body language starts hunching over. When they're going to break, they're dragging feet. That's where we come in and just kind of bust their chops a little bit, let them know, hey, listen, we've done more for less. So this is kind of where we just have to remind them, hey, listen, we're living good right now. It's just, we just have to kind of keep going through, and eventually we're going to get our cracks at it. So that's just one thing, make sure they're staying out of their head.
And ultimately, when we're thinking about what we do, we are also helping people, providing a service that's real. And I think some newer agents that have only been at it for a little bit maybe don't appreciate that, because they haven't had the experience of one of their clients using their plan and then having a really great result. You hear a lot of complaints about the insurance industry and you hear a lot of negative things, But what I think a lot of people outside of the insurance industry don't understand is all the positive things that you end up getting back as an agent after you've helped people, and then they were able to use their coverage and they've been able to have great results. And especially with, a big part of our focus in the Medicare industry and what we do, we're still mainly a Medicare supplement agency. And so on the Medicare supplement side, it's pretty standard. When it comes down to it, it's a policy that Medicare pays their portion, whatever policy you've up, the company has to pay their portion as well. And so I think you get that positive reinforcement back from the clients that you've been able to help over the years. With all that being said, you mentioned agents at the end of the day and having a bad day. Have you ever been able to pull out an agent at the beginning of the day and go, oh, I can tell he's going to have a bad day just because of the way he or she walked into the office today? She maybe had their shoulders hanging low or, looked like they woke up on the wrong side of the bed.
Yeah, you can kind of tell because we're normally the supervisors. We're normally first thing in the door, so we kind of see who's coming in. The floor starts filling up. And you can kind of just tell who's in it, who's not. That's kind of where we have to we do great, team huddles in the morning so that we kind of wake them up. We do role playing as well to make sure that, they're not just going to the script cold. All their voices are warmed up as well, because you can tell, especially on the phone, you can tell when somebody just woke up, or you can tell when somebody's, been up for hours. That's key right to the voice inflections as well. So those opportunities that we get in the morning, just to make sure that we're giving them the best shot first thing in the morning as well. And in regards to digging them out of the hole, we do that every hour. Every hour, some of us gets rattled faster or easier than others. We kind of just have to be the guidelines to that, making sure, hey, it's not that bad. Making sure, hey, what could you have done better? Which ties into our coachings. If we see them slipping from the script, if we see them, deviating, or we like to say taking the low hanging fruit, where somebody just calls in, they tell you what they want. They don't want to be educated. They don't want to be, fact finding. They don't want to be anything. They just want straight quotes. Some of the clients think it's an easy sale, or the agents think it's an easy sale, and they just rush the process. And every veteran sales agent can tell you, if you rush the process 9 times out of 10, that sales ends up going to, hey, let me think about it. Let me talk to my spouse. Let me do everything except for enroll today. So what's great about this, especially just selling insurance, even if you don't have a background, if you don't have a spouse, if you don't have a grandparent or anything like that that's dealt with Medicare, with the amount of stories that we run into every day, we can take those real life stories and spin it back to the clients that may have some other people ran into. So the clients, like I said, if you don't have a story now, you'll have a story later. Because again, some of the things that you hear or you came across, you wouldn't expect any of these clients would be running into. And it kind of just humbles you as a person and kind of puts in perspective, hey, we are here to help people. We are here to make sure that, hey, moving forward in the retirement years, that the last thing you're worried about is whether you can pay a health bill or not, or whether a doctor is going to be in network for an important surgery that you have to do. So it's just a matter of when to realize that, hey, this is something serious. So, and we are helping the older generation as well.
How often do you hear, when you're listening to some of the calls, a client that is hesitant at first, and then by the time they end up getting through the application and they get it all done, that they're relieved, and then they're thanking the agent and going, oh, I'm happy that, I was able to talk to you. You made this so much simpler than I thought it was going to be. Is that something that you hear a fair bit?
You hear it all the phone. The sigh of relief is just, wow, because we have a great education, and some of the agents even taken as far as putting a piece of paper on pen and drawing a diagram for them just so they understand. You'll get different cues throughout the conversation for ones who, and I use humor a lot with my phone calls and even with the agents as well. If you have a great sense of humor, bring it to the phone call. A little gets small yeses all the time. I'm a big stickler for small laughs. If you can get small laughs out of the client, their guard goes down, and then it's just a much easier conversation. So just breaking it down, and because remember, we studied for this. We took 6 months just to get our license for this. We're giving a crash course to a client that may not even understand insurance, or the first time them talking insurance. So if you don't know how to, dumb it down to almost where you're talking to a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, and getting the terminologies to where the client understands, you'll hear the light bulb click in. You'll hear them start speaking the same terminology as you are. You hear, oh, okay, so the Part B is this, the deductible is this, okay, and you'll hear them, everything just starts clicking for them. And now by the end of the application, they're like, I wish it was explained the way you explained it. We get kudos a lot on how we take our time and how we explain. And sometimes if they're not, some of them just kind of yes us, and that's where the trained ears have to come in. If you feel like you're losing your client, pause. It's okay to take breaks. It's okay to step back from the script a second and do temperature checks. How are you feeling so far about this? Is there something that maybe I feel like there's some hesitance going on? Some of us even give them pop quiz. Hey, pop quiz real fast. What is the Part B deductible? Just to make sure that the client is listening as well. So these are small little cues, small little things that we do just to make sure that both parties are on the same page by the end of the application.
I think that's huge that you just mentioned, take those temperature checks, little pop quizzes. I started off face-to-face sales, 15 years ago. And when I was at it, the Humana came out with this great idea. They had a video. So everything that was compliant would be said in this video, and we know that it's going to be compliant. Well, I had at least 3 or 4 clients fall asleep during this 15-minute video. Literally fall asleep on me. And it was the worst experience ever because I couldn't take that temperature check. I guess you could kind of pause the video, but then you're dragging out this whole process. And so I think that's a huge thing that you pointed out is, adhere to the script, follow the guidelines that we have, but you need to be listening to your client. You need to be making sure that they are paying attention. They're not just yes, umming you, because a yes is going to be a yes, I need to think about this. And like you said, I need to talk to my wife. I need to, I need to call my daughter and she's going to go over it with me. And so huge thing for, managers and agents to realize is, you're having a conversation. You're not just reading a script. If you are in a scripted agency, but then also if you're not using scripts, you can't just be droning on at the client. You have to have that back and forth for them to fully understand it. So I love what you said about those little kind of pop quizzes. And yeah, if you do have the client pull out a piece of paper and do the old, okay, at the top of the page, draw a line in the middle, put the line down the middle, put Part A on one side, put Part B on the right, and then you start going through that whole process with them. It can keep them engaged. Do we have when you're doing that, obviously we talked about screen sharing. Is that something that agents are doing in the screen sharing process? Is something similar to that? Or do you think it's better to actually have the client physically writing things out and writing their own notes?
We do offer them, if you're a note taker, this is kind of where you take your notes. So we do give a diagram of the client. So that way, if they're a visual learner, they can kind of see. First, obviously, when you're a junior, you developed, the basics, right? Then when you become a senior, then you can kind of be like, okay, you kind of hear whether they're picking up what you're laying down on the phones, or if you feel like you're losing your client, that's where like, hey, okay, maybe they're not, a visual learner or an audio learner. Maybe they just need to write something down. Another aspect that I was a stickler for is just controlling the pen. Not only can you control what they're listening to, but if you can control their pen and actually controlling what they're writing, what they're seeing, now you have a different aspect of the sales to where you can be like, hey, look at what you just wrote down, right? If you feel like you're losing somebody, hey, go back to that piece of paper real fast. Go ahead and circle down what we did. Remember, this is the premium that we were talking about, not this, right? So you being able to control the pen, you being able to control what they're seeing, it's just now you're in complete control rather than letting the client guide the conversation. If you're in control of the whole conversation, if you have them 9 times out of 10, it's going to work in your favor. You just have to make sure that you're understanding your client on the other end and what type of learner they are, because essentially you are teaching them something that is foreign to them, but it is important, obviously.
Now, it's controlling the conversation is absolutely key. But I think another aspect of that is making sure that the client is still on the other end of the line and keeping them engaged with you to do that, and having those, like you said, temperature checks, because, if they're just listening and they're not engaging, then they're probably, scrolling through Facebook or doing something else, falling asleep.
It's like a dance, it takes 2 to tango. So if you can't be having 90% of the conversation and the client on the other end who's going to be buying not engaged at all. It's, 60-40, because the biggest pain points is the ones that they're not telling you, right? If you have them bringing the pain points to the surface, right? A big thing is, especially when they're fact finding, yes, we understand that, the pain point is a price increase, right? Everybody's pain point is a price increase, but they've encountered this price increase every year. So the next question would be like, well, why all of a sudden, this price increase is making you spark an interest, right? It's digging underneath the surface, not only making the logical sale, which is the numbers, but also making an emotional sale as well. If you can, tackle on the numbers and make it an emotional sale, it's game over. At the end, 9 times out of 10, they're also going to ask, hey, what's the next step to do? If a client says, what's the next step to do? It's already in the bag. The sale's already won. The call's over. So it's just making sure that active listening, digging past the surface, listening to those pain points, asking the whys behind their pain points is really where it sets apart from just, the average sales agent to the great sales agent.
Now, how about this concept? One of the things I always used to tell people when I would train agents is you don't shy away from the negatives, embrace the negatives. So you're talking about price increases. They are going to happen at some point. Just like, we dealt with it, with eggs recently. Now eggs came back down. But if you look at the price of Medicare, I think the first year I was in the business, it was $96.40. And now it's nowhere near that, right? It's almost double that at this point. And so prices are going to go up, just like the price of your auto insurance is going to go up. And setting those expectations actually kind of put the clients at ease. Is that ever something that you run into, is just making sure that people aren't shying away from it and acting like we're selling some magic product that's going to just always be the same and always stay the same price?
Oh, absolutely. This kind of segues into, the reason why we sell both supplements and advantages. I mean, we always lead the customer to the supplements, but like I said, and the reason why is because you get what you pay for, which is another way. Hey, yeah, Medicare Advantage is appealing to the eye. It's $0 plan. But what a lot of clients don't understand is they're going to be paying $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 on the back end before the plan even kicks in at 100%. So just to touch on, the price is always going to happen. Touching on the negatives, absolutely. And it kind of ties into us being able to dig underneath the surface, right? We're going to be as transparent with the customer as long as they're transparent with us. If a price increase is something that they're worried about, then every year we're going to do the same song and dance to make sure that the premium doesn't get away from you. Because unfortunately, loyalty with insurance companies doesn't get you anywhere other than a higher monthly premium. We say that all the time.
You love that Bankers Life policy that you've had, and they're just a wonderful company, right? You might as well keep them forever because they pay the bills. Oh.
And we, like I said, we have little nuggets that we give them all the time, especially with the supplements. Like what the clients don't understand is the ones that are on the supplement side is they fall in love with the letter, not the carrier, or they fall into the trap with, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So like Blue Cross Blue Shield, they had group coverage and then they migrated over to a supplement. And because the group coverage was so great with Blue Cross Blue Shield, they fall into the habit of wanting to go Blue Cross Blue Shield with their supplements. Is there any change in coverage? No. Is the premium a lot higher than a lot of other carriers? Yeah. But that's where the sales comes in is, break down the standardization. That's where the sales agents, that's the first hurdle that they have to cross is having them understand how supplements work. So it's just, like I said, active listening is huge, especially when it comes to, why they're leaning towards a certain carrier, why they're leaning a certain way. That's where getting underneath the surface is key for a lot of new starting agents as well.
Now, we've gone over a whole bunch of stuff in this, conversation. A lot of it's been sales technique and script adherence and everything along those lines. You're more than that. Your job is a lot more than that. There's kind of a little out of the park question that I always ask everybody, and it's kind of free flowing. And it's, of everything that we covered, what is the one thing that you think, in your role and your position in the insurance industry that just people aren't talking about enough, or they don't realize that, is an important thing to you, or what's going on in the business?
Just in regards to people who are just, new or maybe thinking about transition from an agent to a supervisor, or maybe want to get into sales and stuff along those lines. So you kind of just have to have a good mindset. If you don't get rattled, if you don't have confidence, is huge, obviously. But it's not as bad as you think it is, especially with sales agents. Sales agents, as long as you get dialed in, you get locked in, and you have essentially 300 shots to score 2 buckets, right? If you can think of it like that, it's not a bad gig at all. And if you get really good at it, it becomes very lucrative. It's life-changing money for agents wanting to go sales soup, especially for top performing agents, maybe wanting to transition to supervisors. I mean, you're a top performing agent for a reason, right? People gravitate to you. You have a natural aura to you that people like to follow. Don't be afraid to take that next step. I mean, me at first, I mean, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I would definitely like to pride myself on one of the top sales performers. I love sales. You have to understand that, like I said, there's more than one way to the mountain. There's more of one way of selling. There's more of, and me knowing that and me learning from other agents how different approaches and different sales, that's just another tool on my tool belt. So I think if you're thinking about doing it, if you've been hesitant about it, definitely, especially go into a team lead just to kind of understand the other side of things, the other aspects of things, not just in the trenches. See what it's like outside of the trenches. See how other people, how you can, all it takes is one call to change somebody else's aspect of things. So if you're thinking about doing, for sure, definitely take that lead.
I want to piggyback off that. I want to piggyback off one of the things that you said while you were talking was, I love sales. And, a lot of the conversation has been kind of in the trenches. It can be tough and all that stuff. But what a lot of people don't realize is sales is fun when you get those little wins. You get those victories. And sometimes the little win's not a sale even. Sometimes it's not the core policy that you were thinking. But as you get better, as you continue to progress on, and grow in the business, those little victories make it fun. And really, one of the things I noticed at EIP is it is fun. Whenever I've been there on the sales floor, people are having a good time. People are making noise. They're celebrating and high-fiving after, somebody makes a sale. And that's a key to, I think, having a successful organization is make sure that everybody's having a good time. Make sure everybody's, enjoying what they're doing. You say, it can be great money. Really, the only way it's going to be great money is if you enjoy what you're doing and you're having a good time with it.
Absolutely. Energy is huge. If you don't have energy, it's going to be miserable for you. Sales in general, you just got to pick each other up. I look at it as a football team, a basketball team, whatever sports team in the gym, whatever case may be, that camaraderie, that team effort, that leaning on each other. It's your job is to make sure that everybody else is thriving as well. Whether you be an agent or anything like that, everybody eats at the same table. So we all want to make sure that, we're paying. If you see your neighbor down, pick him up. Because if you don't pick him up, he's going to go in a spiral motion. It's going to reflect on his calls. And then he's just going to be a negative Nancy. If you hone into your craft, if you take it serious, the losses become less and the wins become more. And then that's when you start having fun. That's when you can start going and maybe try things that you haven't tried before. Maybe say something different that you maybe not have done it before. And if it works, take it to the drawing board and rinse and repeat, bottle it up, sell it to everybody.
Courage is contagious. And also, same thing with attitude. It's contagious. If somebody's down, they're not having a good time, then that can bring you down. You never know. And so keeping everybody up and helping out the other guy, maybe you just got it handed to you on the phone, but you go over and, big up somebody else. Now you can kind of use that energy to come back in and have a good time.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, negative energy travels faster than positive energy. But as long as, like I said, you keep a smile going, you keep the energy fresh, lean on each other, I mean, it's going to be a good day no matter what.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Michael, I think it's awesome that you came on here today with me. Spent a bunch of time on here. You've got people out there that are counting on you. And so I appreciate you getting on here today and keep killing it like you are.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Curt.